Hey, how you doing? Welcome to another time here. Welcome to another time on the book club. This book club with me, Saint Haki. I got to do this Sunday afternoon. West African time, 2 p.m. Could meet you at different other time zone depending on where you're joining us. But we're presently reading through our sixth book in the series is The Good Life. The Good Life by Robert Waldinger and Marc Schulz, right? So that's what we've been reading. We're presently reading in the fifth chapter. That's what we're on. The last time we met upper week, 2 weeks ago, we looked at we opened into started with chapter 5. We couldn't meet last week because I had a burial and I didn't come online last week. So we're here doing the second part in chapter 5, and we're gonna do a total of 3 sessions in chapter 5. So we have another one next week to close out chapter 5. So we're looking at chapter 5, and the title of chapter 5 is Attention to Relationships. You know, attention to relationship. Another word for attention there is nurturing relationship. Another word for attention there is cultivating relationship. Another word there is waiting on relationship. Another word there is attending to relationship. Another word there is waiting on relationship, right? Another word there is nurturing relationship, right? And what we nurture, right, will grow. What will nurture will bless us back, will produce fruit, right? Just like I was talking to my former farm manager, we're needing to nurse some seed, for replanting. And all he did was just put the seed down, and he was just at the mercy of the result of the germination. Whereas there are some other things you could do to help that germination process, right? Which could be adding some manure to it, the way you water it, the way you care for it, right? Like I love to say about Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn will tell us, that whatever result we get out of life, right, is a result. It's due to the things we did, how we nurtured our yesterday, the seed we put on the ground, the watering we put there, the manure we added to it, the care we gave to it, right? Your life is a result. Your life today is a result. Your life tomorrow will be a result, right? And we should be matured enough to accept the result that we get, because it is what we produce, right? Not what anybody produced for us, but what we produce, what we chose. We made a decision to be where we are right now. Nobody forced you to be where you are right now, whether it be status and life, whether it be location, physical, psychological, spiritual. You made a decision to be where you are right now. You are going to make a decision as to where you will be tomorrow. You made a decision as to where you are this year, 2023. You are going to make a decision as to where you will be in the next year to come, 2024, because to be a result of the seed you are sowing, the seed you will sow, and the kind of watering, nurturing you will give to that seed that will produce where you will be tomorrow, right? And the thing is not about giving excuses. It's about looking at, how did I get here? Do I like where I am today? Do I like the trajectory on which my life is on? If yes, then I do more of it. If no, then I begin to look at the things I need to change. What can I change so I can get a different result from what I'm getting right now? Right? But in the sense of the chapter, the book where we are in right now, we're looking at relationship. Where am I in the relationships in my life? As we're looking at from verse chapter 4, we talked about social fitness, right? Don't forget, social fitness again is my ability to engage socially, right, and to maintain my engagement, right? My ability to create relationship and to manage, nurture, maintain my existing relationship and the new ones that I create. My ability to do that is how fit socially that I am, right? And we looked at it, and from coming from chapter 4, we talked about looking at our social universe, looking at the people in our life, the people that increase us, the people that decrease us, the people that feed us, the people that deplete us, and look at the different relationships in our life. Look at where they are. Look at the ones we want to make better and the one we probably want to reduce, right? Determine where we want to be going forward. We know where we are right now. Is that where we want to be? Is that the fullness of what we want to maintain right now? Or do we want a different tomorrow? Whatever address we want to be tomorrow, right? It is determined by what we do, right, to our social universe. Our social universe contains all the people we get to interact and relate with one way or the other, right? Whether it be associates, family, friends, whatever, your bosses, your colleagues, but one way or the other, you get to interact, relate in one form or the other. You need to then look at those relationships, right? And ask yourself, are they where you want it to be? Could they get better? Would you want it to get better? If they get better, will it fill you or will it deplete you? Will it make you more of who you are, more of who you would want to be or not? Then you begin to then do the things that will get you to where you want to be. Right. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about attending to relationship, determining where you want your relationships to be. Right. That's a focus here in chapter 5. Right. We had the first session 2 weeks ago. We're going to go into a second session here, looking at that, and we're going to be looking at how to relate, how to engage. Then we'll probably end up looking at one area that has come to us where we engage, right? It's talking about social media. And I believe social media was created probably in 1977, 79 plus minus, but that has revolutionized, right? And our social integrations, our social integration, it was done with the intent to make it better. But that has not been the result for everybody. For some people, it has made it better. For some people, it has made it worse, right? For some people, because of social media, they've committed suicide. For some people, because of social media, they become rich. They become connected. They've gone to places they never thought they could ever be in their life, right? To some, it's a blessing. To some, it's been a curse. It's nothing wrong with social media. Social media was created to be a blessing. Unfortunately, because we're human beings, right? We can tend to make anything at all, to live to his intent or to live to his opposite intent, because we can make decisions, and our decisions determine the direction of our life, irrespective of the thing that we're using, right? If you're talking about animals have no decisions to make, right? They would go to the fullest extent of what you give to them. But for human beings, because we can make decisions and we hate of the fruit of our knowledge of good and evil, we can make evil a good, and we can make good a evil, right? So let's go on. I'm going to bring up my slide here, and we're going to shoot. We're going to go ahead and do this like we always do. All right. So pretty much that's what we're doing, right? We're second part in chapter 5. Again, that's the book. It's the book, right? The Good Life, was released in January of this year. It's a compilation of a study that was done in Harvard School, right? They did a study on adult development. That study has been going on for more than 85 years now, right? They've been collecting data from people for the more than 85 years. People on their study list include John F. Kennedy, right? And it's all about learning. What does it take to have the optimum adult development, to have a life that is both long and rich? Long and rich. What are the things that seasons life, right? In what way can we live a happy, prosperous, fulfilling life, right? That was the intent of the study, and all of that is compiled here, and that's what we're just trying to get from the richness of that study. The whole book concludes that that what makes up, for having the fullness of life is relationship, the kind of relationships we have in our life, and it's not just having relationship, but having quality relationships, that will give us the fulfillment that we all yearn for in life. It's not about having success, it's about having good success. It's not about just living, it's about living a good life, a nourishing life, a fulfilling life, right? A life where you fulfill the intent of your existence, the intent of your creation, the intent of your being here, right? You've become accomplished in life. You're not just living, you're not just existing, but you are living. You're leaving your mark in the sand of time, in the stone of time. The whole world will know that you came, you passed through here. You are not just someone, begging or excuse or an apology, but you are someone that the world will feel the impact of your being here, right? And that comes by relationship, right? That comes by relationship, having the right quality relationships, right? And that's what we're trying to learn as we go through the book, how we can revolutionize our life such that we can optimize the relationship, the engagements in our life, right? And that's what we're learning. The topic of chapter 6 is facing the music, facing life. Oh, awesome. I can't wait to share that. Facing life. A lot of people avoid life. They avoid relationship, either because they've been hurt in one form or the other, and they feel, oh, I'm protecting myself. That's foolish, man. You're only going to get life by leaning into life. You lean into life. You don't run away from life. You face the music of life and overcome. You are here to overcome, not to be overcome. And you're not going to overcome by running away from life. You got to face the music of life and overcome it, right? You learn how to overcome it and you execute your plan. It doesn't mean you're going to get it all the time. Sometimes you're going to fall on your face. Sometimes you're going to miss it. But you learn from that experience and do better again. You learn and you do better, right? There's no perfect life. If you're not making mistakes, then you're not living. Life is about making mistakes because that's what it takes to live. You learn and do better. You learn and do better. You learn and do better, right? And the better you do, the more opportunities create for you to even do better, right? That's what life is. That's where life is lived, right? So let's go on. So this is our second take into chapter 5 of the book, The Good Life. Chapter 5, the second take, attention to relationships, right? That's what we're looking at. We talked about loneliness. I believe that was chapter 3 or so. Oh, chapter 4 was part of chapter 4. When it comes to relationships, right? Loneliness is not an idea of your mind. Just like being hungry is not because I want to be hungry, or you have a headache. You say, I want to have a headache. No, you either have a headache or you don't have a headache. You're either hungry or you're not hungry, right? It's a symptom. It's telling you something is amiss, right? Loneliness is your system telling you are not rightly engaging life. You're not rightly engaging people. You're not rightly engaging socially. That's what loneliness is telling you, right? It is a distress in your body, just like headache or hunger, right? You will feel it, mainly psychologically. But if you allow that psychological to stay long enough, it will affect you physically also. It will affect you spiritually also, right? But loneliness is a distress. It's a distress you feel in your psychological being. It's a discomfort you feel in your psychological being, more like physical hunger, more like headache, which is telling you that you are not rightly engaging in the social circuit of your life, right? Not another person's social circuit, but your own social circuit. You are not rightly engaging. You are not engaging enough. You are staying away. You are not rightly engaging people. That is what the feeling of loneliness is telling you. You are doing something wrong. You are not doing something right. That's what loneliness is telling you. It is not the cause of the devil. It is not a whatever. It is just simply telling you the same way hunger tells you it's time to go eat. It's time to go engage. It's time to step out more. It's time to leave your comfort zone. It's time to take some risk, albeit calculated risk, right? But it's time to engage. That's what loneliness is telling you. It is put there by God. It's part of your protective mechanism. More like fear, more like pain. It's telling you you need to do something about your life. If you don't do that thing, things can get worse. That's what loneliness is telling you. So when you feel lonely, you need to have a plan to go beyond that place, to move forward, to do better, to solve the problem, right? To solve the headache, to solve the distress, to solve the discomfort, right? Now, being alone is not lonely. Yeah, we have to understand there's a difference between being alone and loneliness, right? Being alone is not loneliness. Being alone could be a choice, right? Because being alone, it's also important in your life. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes to come, right? But loneliness is not just being alone. It's just that it's just telling you you are not rightly engaging. That's all. And you can do something about it. You have to do something about it because it only gets worse, right? And we'll spend time talking about that earlier on. If you look for our video on loneliness, I believe that's part of chapter 4. You'll get some more things about it. But the way you solve loneliness is not by praying. It's not by going to see a prophet. It's by connecting. Loneliness is the absence of connection, or the right amount of connection in your life. The way to solve it is to increase your connection. The way to solve hunger is not to pray, is to eat. The way to solve thirst is to drink. The way to solve headache is to go take a Panadol, or to sleep, or to rest, or to get some kind of, your body's telling you you're stretching yourself too much. So it says reduce it. When it comes to loneliness, it's connection. It's engaging. And you might be limited based on whatever your social fitness might be. But you can get better. You can do better. You are not a prisoner of where you are today. You can build your social fitness, just like you can build your physical fitness. Because you don't have strength in your physical body today is not a sentence of death. You can do something about it. You can get better. You can go to the gym. You can begin to tone your body. You can begin to do power training. You can begin to jog. You can begin to work, right? And you don't have to force jump into it, because you can kill yourself. You can hurt yourself. You suddenly jump into it because your body is elastic. The same way your mind is elastic. You don't just jump into the gym. You need to have a program of breaking into it, because if you don't break into it, you can hurt yourself. The same way when it comes to connection, you don't just jump, I'm going to just, people that are in extreme loneliness just jump. They also want to make 100 friends in one day. Life does not work that way. You got to break into it. You got to make one friend first. Maybe have a friend. Before you can get to the 100, you got to learn how to grow before you work. You got to learn how to work before you run. You got to learn how to run before you fly, right? That is the way life is lived. Some people talk about suddenly. God did not create any suddenly. Have you ever seen suddenly in nature? No, everything nature does is traceable. It builds to a climax. But people that want to deceive you, that want to confuse you, that want to steal from you will be telling you about suddenly. There are no suddenly in nature. Nature climaxes. It builds to a climax. The same thing about your life. If you're going to begin to be socially fit, you gotta build it. You gotta build it. You gotta begin to do the things that will give you social fitness in little bits. In little bits that you don't hurt yourself. You don't put yourself in difficult risky environment. Right? There's a level of risk you can bear if you have not been exposed to being risky before. You gotta manage it because you're going to have feedback from that. You don't want to extend yourself so much that when you get hurt, you don't have anything left to go back again. You gotta fight today so that you can fight tomorrow. Right? You gotta fight and leave enough to fight again tomorrow. You gotta build it one step at a time to your climax. Right? There are no suddenlies in nature. Don't expect suddenlies in your social circle. Right? Learn to be a friend with one person. Then learn to be a friend with two people. Then grow. You're gonna get feedback from everyone that you do. Right? You're gonna have a lot of battles on the inside of you. And I'm saying this as someone who's been through it. Again, I tell you, I can look at the screen right now and not feel anything. But I wasn't born this way. I have not always been like this. I have grown into it. I have climaxed into it. I have learned how to do it. That's why this is easy for me, right? Because I grew through it. Right? I walked in all the feedbacks. I put my leg out. I feel, what did they take? I pull myself again. I go back again. Over time, I've done that so much. People think I'm an extrovert. I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert, right? But I look like an extrovert because I have practiced. What I need to do to get my life to where my life needs to be, right? I have practiced, and by reason of practice, I have built social fitness. So it's easier for me to make friends today. It's easier for me to maintain friends today. I've gotten feedbacks. I've made mistakes. I've learned from my mistakes, and I'm doing better. Right? I look like a professional at doing it today, but I wasn't born that way. I learned. I made mistakes. I learned from my mistakes. That's why I can share with you almost like a guru today, almost like a professional today, but I wasn't born this way, right? I learned to get here. All right. So the only way you're going to get deliverance from loneliness is by making connections, right? And when we talk about connections, it's about coming to a place where you are known, you're seen, you're understood, you're valued, you are remembered, and you are cared for. In the process of doing it and trying to get that for yourself, you're also doing it for the person you're trying to connect with. So to be able to be known, you got to know the person you're trying to connect to. To be seen, you have to see the person you're trying to connect with. To be understood, you have to understand the person you're trying to connect with. To be valued, you have to value the person you're trying to connect with. To be remembered, you have to remember the person you're trying to connect with. To be cared for, you gotta care for the person you're trying to connect with. My beloved brother, just in Canada, just came around last week and called me just some few minutes before we started here, and you see, he remembered me. That's connection, right? And I was also talking to him in ways that I remembered him, shared with him how much I've been tracking him on LinkedIn. What that makes him feel? It makes him feel seen. Just like he's seeing me, I'm also seeing him. When it comes to connection, it's a two-way track, right? Don't forget, we'll talk about healthy relationship. Healthy relationship is never one way, right? Healthy relationship is a relationship where each one comes because of what they can give, not what they can receive. It's what they can give, not what they can receive, right? But what keeps them in that relationship is what they receive, not what they give. It's called the paradox of relationship, right? So when you come into a healthy relationship, you're coming because You want to make the person you're engaging with to be known. You want to make the person you're engaging with to be seen. You want to make the person you're engaging with to be understood. You want to make the person you're engaging with to be valued. You want to make the person you're engaging with to be remembered. You want to make the person you're engaging with to be cared for. But if all you do is that, you will not last in that relationship. You will not have a connection. What makes that relationship to last is because as you are given, you are also receiving, right? You are being known, you're being seen, you're being understood, you're being valued, you're being remembered, and you're being cared for. It's a two-way traffic, but it starts by giving, right? You got a soul to reap. You got a soul to harvest, right? All right, let me welcome Toba here. Toba, how are you doing?
I'm good. Happy Sunday, sir.
Happy Sunday. Good to have you. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, great. I was church.
Fine, thank you. Just coming.
Awesome. Good. So we're doing the second part in chapter 5. Title of chapter 5 is Attention to Relationship. Your best investment, attending to relationship, investing in relationship. That's what we're talking about. So second sitting on chapter 5, I was hoping that we're going to go through a lot today. But I've spent so much time expatiating on a lot of things. I'm not sure if we'll finish all I have for today. I was thinking we'll finish it next week, but with how I'm spending on just the first part, maybe we'll have another 2 sessions to finish chapter 5, but we'll see how it goes. But pretty much just talking about how we need to invest in our relationship to get the best value from it, and just talking about loneliness, right? Loneliness is like headache or hunger pangs, right? It just tells you something is amiss in your life. That's what it is, If you ever feel lonely, it's not a devil. It's not a cause. The only thing it's telling you is that you're not having the right level and quantity and quality of relationship in your life. You're not making the right connections or the right quantity of connections in your life. That's all it's telling you. Right? Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. So the solution is not prayer. The solution is to connect, is to relate. Right. Yes, you can pray about God, help me to relate. But prayer is not the end of it. Prayer is a catalyst to it. But until you relate, your loneliness will always be there. Right. And it's not about spending time with God. Yeah, when you feel lonely, it's not talking about spending time with God. It's spending time with other people. Yeah, there's a place for God, no doubt. And that's not loneliness. That's been alone with God, right? That when you feel lonely, it's that you're not having the right quantity and quality of engagement with other people in your life, right? And the only solution to it is to engage, is to have those connections. If you don't, you're always going to feel lonely. It's not going to be solved by activity. Some people try to solve it by activity. They now go do more things. They go to church more often. Yeah, they pray, they evangelize. All of that will solve your loneliness, right? It's not just being in the midst of people. It's about having a one-to-one engagement with other people, right? To the extent that you find a connection. You feel known, you feel seen, you feel understood, you feel valued, you feel remembered and cared for. If you don't have this, you have not solved the problem of loneliness, even though everybody knows your name. Everybody calls you brother. Everybody thinks you are the best thing since sliced bread. If it cannot affect you psychologically to the place where you feel known, you feel seen, you feel understood, you feel valued, you feel remembered and cared for, you're still going to be lonely. So no surprise when you have people that are popular. This other guy that committed suicide used to be a comedian, makes every other person happy, every other person laugh. but yet he committed suicide. I remember this lady, Tasha, talk about the fact how she used to feel lonely after she has finished ministration. He has led worship. Everybody's worshiping God. Then after she finished, she feels lonely. She feels depressed, right? Because she didn't give, right? And she was giving to the congregation, not to individuals. So she was not in a place where she could, because as being human, you want to relate with another being, another human, not a crowd, right? You don't just want to be lost in the crowd. So you can be lonely even though everybody knows you, because it's a personal, individual connection, such that you come out of it when you feel known, not popular, but someone knows you, someone knows your name, someone knows what you are going through. You can feel someone cares. You can feel that you are not invisible. Someone in it feels that you matter. Someone knows your pain and they care, right? And if you don't get to that point, your loneliness will not be solved, right? Any question for me in that wise, or anything you want to add?
No, very
No.
correct.
So we're together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So the only way, we solve loneliness is by making connections, and the only way we make connections is by communicating. Right? Communication is a science just as much as it is an art. There's a skill to communicating, right? There's a science to communicating. The science tells us about the boundary conditions, the effects. It tells us about the points. It tells us about the rule of thumbs and all of that. All of those are useless if you don't use them, if you don't use them skillfully, right? So when you talk about communication, it's both a science, a body of knowledge, and it's also an act, something you have to do, and you become more skillful and better at it by doing it. The same when we talk about prayer. Prayer is a science and it's an act. There are boundaries, conditions to prayer, how to pray. Whether you're praying prayer of faith, prayer of that, tongues, all of that. That's a science. All of that is useless if you cannot imbibe the act of praying itself. You only get better at praying by praying, not by filling your head with praying. The same way when it comes to communicating, it's about communicating. You get better at doing it because each time you communicate, you are getting feedback. The intent of communication is not just to pass information or to open your mouth. When you communicate, what you're trying to do is make connection, because communication is between two hearts, not two heads. That's where people miss it. They think communicating is two heads. I want him to you're just passing information. You have not communicated. Communication is always between two hearts. Unless there are two hearts, there's no connection. Unless there are two hearts, the person that you are talking with does not feel known, does not feel seen, does not feel understood, does not feel valued, does not feel remembered, does not feel you care. Right? So that might be your intent. But again, that's why we say there's a science to it. But if this is a well-studied body, whereby if you don't do some things, even though you are speaking and you want to communicate, you're not getting through to the person that you want to communicate with, right? Because that person is seeing beyond just what you say. Your gesticulation can nullify everything that you are saying, right? You cannot be saying, oh, I'm sorry. You're saying you're sorry, but you're laughing. That laughter does not agree with the words you are saying. That laughter is already canceling what you are saying. And in the hierarchy of communication, what you see is higher than what you hear, such that what you see can nullify what you hear. So if what I am showing, my gesticulation is saying yes, but what I'm coming out of my mouth is saying is no. What the person is hearing is yes, not no. You are saying no, but the person that you are speaking to is hearing yes. This is researched, well documented. because what a person sees is higher on the hierarchy of communication than what the person hears, such that what the person sees can physically cancel what the person is hearing. Do you understand that? How about you? Are you with me on that? Any questions?
Yes, yes. Sorry, I was on mute.
No
Yes,
problem. Any question on that? You agree with that?
Perfectly.
Awesome. So when we communicate again, so the intent of communication is to bind hearts together, is to join hearts together. It's not just to talk, and that's important, especially in a marriage relationship, where one party is always saying this or that. Oh, don't you remember I said it the other time? We don't have to. This is a difference between talking and communicating. Because you're talking doesn't mean you're communicating, right? Because communication is not between heads, it's between hearts. And what the heart is receiving is not just the verbal information, it's also the visual, is the entire body of what is being passed on, right? Not just what is being said, is the gesticulation. And also, there's also an interpretation of everything that is being said or seen, because the experience of that person receiving it also will translate everything that is being said or seen. So if in that person's family, a particular word means something that is not what you meant when you said it, that person would take it as what he or she has already known that word to mean, irrespective of what you mean by that word, right? So it's not just what you're saying, it's the interpretation of what you are saying, So that's why part of communication is what we'll talk about, reflective listening, right? The person is not sure, is probably going to ask you, oh, is this what you mean? Is that what you said? That helps to clarify things, because not just what you are passing on, is that person's interpretation of what you are passing on, right? That is the eventual thing that reaches the heart of that person and could either help or deter the connection that you're trying to make, the communication you're trying to pass on, right? Are we together on that?
Yes.
All right. So sometimes part of communication is human touch, physical proximity, because again, it's not just what is being said, right? It's interpretation of what is being seen and what is being felt as well, right? So that's why we talk about, don't just use email communication, go have face-to-face, right? It's always good if you have met someone before, then it's easier to interpret what that person has written, right? If you have never met that person before, you can easily misunderstand what that person is writing. So when we talk about communication and all you're doing is email, that person does not fully understand what you are saying in the email or what you are putting on social media, because if that person has never met you before, because what the person is receiving from you is more than what you are informing the person. It's that person's interpretation of what you are writing is based on the knowledge or perception of that person, of that person's perception of who you are. Two people can say the same word, but it means entirely two different things to the person receiving it, because that person is interpreting the word based on the knowledge of the person. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Right. So it's not just the word, it's also the interpretation of who you are. Right. So all of that come under the body of the science of communication. So we use all of these in the skill of communication as we try to form connections, have engagements, and that helps us. I could also not help us, right? And that's because we are social beings, right? We're social beings. We're not machines. We're not robots, right? We're affected by emotions. We're affected by vision, what we see. You know, someone says a word, we see something. What we see might not be the same as what the person is seeing. But the intent of communication is that what the person that is saying something sees should be what the person that is hearing it sees, right? But like someone rightly said, you know, the biggest problem with communication is when we think we have communicated when we have not. Because that person is not seeing what you're seeing, you have not communicated. You have only just spoken, right? The intent is that that person will see what you see. That person will feel what you feel, right? And that might be limited, you know, by all the things we've spoken about so far, right? So part of a skill of communication is being able to overcome those limitations. Because if you don't overcome those limitations, you are not going to connect with that person. That person is not going to feel, that person is not going to feel known, is not going to feel seen, is not going to feel understood, is not going to feel valued, is not going to feel remembered, is not going to feel cared for. And if that person doesn't feel any of these, you cannot have a social engagement with that person. That person, you're just eating off the surface, right? So because we're social beings, we need to take cognizance of all of these. You know, if we truly want to have connection with one another, if we truly want to engage with one another, if we truly want to have relationship, you know, that will bless us, you know, and increase us and give us life, you know. So as social beings, we live in families, you know, and the Bible would say that God puts the lonely in families, right? Because we're social beings, right? We are not designed to exist alone. A loner does not live long, right? We're not designed that way. God did not create us to be alone. Even when he created the first one and left him here, he said, it is not good. It is good. So he himself saw it is not good. Ever before that, everything was saying, oh, it was so good, night and day. So good, night and day. So good, night and day. The first thing God found out that is not good is that for man to be alone. And that's not just in marriage, it's general relationship. We are created to relate with one another. Our essence is not found inside of us. Our joy, happiness is not found inside of us. It is found in our relationship with other people, our engagement with other people. That is where we find our essence, our reason for being here. That's when we climax to the fullness of all that God has created us to be, right? So loners don't get rich. Loners don't live long. Loners don't have the quality of life that God has created us to have, right? So we try best when we're in the company of other people, not alone, right? We sure need each other to fulfill our needs. We need each other to express our thoughts and feelings too, because to the intent that we want to feel known, want to feel seen, want to feel understood, want to feel valued, want to feel remembered, and want to feel cared for, right? When we don't have these things, then we don't feel complete. We'll feel like we're missing out on something, right? So any question on that before I go on?
You can go ahead, sir.
All right. So irrespective of where we fall on the continuum, so who will give excuse? Oh, I'm an introvert. Oh, that's why I don't talk. I don't make friends. Oh, I'm an extrovert. That's why I just make friends. Irrespective of where you fall on the introversion, extroversion spectrum, we all need friends. We all need someone else beyond ourselves. We all need to be known. We all need to be seen. We all need to be understood. We all need to be valued. We all need to be remembered, and we all need to be cared for. It doesn't matter whether you are the worst introvert or the worst extrovert. That does not take away from the humanity. The need for connection is very core, at the core, at the heart of our humanity. It's the way God wired us. It has nothing to do whether I'm a male, a female, whether I'm a Nigerian, American. We are created to relate with other human beings. And until we do, we have not started living. We're not created to be alone. We're created to feel known. We're created to feel seen. We're created to feel understood. We're created to feel valued. We're created to feel remembered. And we're created to feel cared for. And it is not carnal. Right? Some people might want to be spiritual and say, oh, that's carnal. Have some people used to tell me, oh, self-esteem, it's of the devil, it's the flesh. We should not have any self-esteem, self-confidence. It should be Jesus confident, Christ confident. That's ignorance, foolishness. That comes from people that are empty-headed. They don't know their left from their right. That's why the Bible says wisdom is a principal thing. Wisdom is a principal thing. Wisdom is a principal thing. You're get understanding. It's not this foolish zeal without knowledge. We were created that way. And until you meet that need, you can never be fulfilled. That's the way God created us. He created us like that before the fall. God himself said, Adam had not fallen. It is not good for man to be alone. God said it. There's no higher law than that. It is not good for man to feel unknown. It is not good for man to feel unseen. It is not good for man to feel ununderstood. It is not good for man to feel unvalued. It is not good for man to feel unremembered. It is not good for man to feel uncared for. Until that need is met, he cannot be human. He cannot be, he cannot function rightly. When you begin to negate this, that leads to all this mental sickness, because this goes to the very core of who we are. We cannot function rightly if we don't have the right connections in our life, right? So it's not something we can push aside, and there's no excuse about it. Now, the level and intensity of connection for everyone might be different. The level of connection we all need is not the same. But you need the one that will make your life to function. Some people need 100 friends. Some people need 5 friends. Some people need 1,000 associates. Or some people just need 10. To yourself, be true. You would know within yourself, because you would know when you're hungry. You will know when you are lonely. You will know when you're not having the right connection in your life. To yourself, be true. Don't compare yourself to other people. It's not one size fits all. Some people need 1 million followers on their Facebook accounts. Some people are good with just 5. To yourself, be true. Some people will never open their account to anybody, the word sign that anybody can see. Some people just keep it friends only. Some people will limit it family only. And their life is good. If that is you, stay with it. But that's for other people, if they don't have 100 likes, they cannot function. If that is you, live with it. But to yourself, be true. Right? So social integration is all about being able to, participate in the several relationships in our lives, whether it be the strong one, the deep ones, the weak ones, social activities, and identify within the community we find ourselves, right? Because we need other people to live. We need other people to function. We were not created to be loners, right? We were not created to be loners. We're not created to be loners, right? So social integration is all about, finding the right social support, being vulnerable, because if you're not vulnerable, you cannot find intimacy. If you're not vulnerable, you cannot find connection. Connection is only found in being vulnerable, right? Now, the level of vulnerability is different from all of us, right? And it's different depending on your social fitness, right? I can go on the stage and can stand rejection. For some other person, that could be the end of their life, right? You have to respect who you are, right? Respect your journey, right? So don't go and copy someone else and just go to a place where you have so much rejection that you feel it's not worthy to be alive again, right? Take it at your own pace, one step at a time, one baby step at a time. Grow muscle, grow your social fitness, right? Don't engage more than you are fit for, but don't be satisfied with small strength. Grow your strength every day. Take one baby step after the other and become a better person. Let each day find you a better person, right? That's what's important, right? So we're going to close with this. I'm not going to take the social media today because we're already close to 1 hour. So I'm going to close this. We'll take the social media part next week, and it's just talking about there's what we call healthy solitude, healthy aloneness. There are times you need time with yourself, right? You need time with yourself. It's not just for others, right? You need time to know yourself, to feel known by yourself. Before other people will know you, you need to be known by yourself. You need to be seen by yourself. You need to be understood by yourself. You need to be valued by yourself. You need to be remembered by yourself. You need to care for yourself. Because if you don't do that for yourself, no other person will do it for you. Right? So to connect with other people, you need to connect with your own self. You need to know yourself and be at peace with yourself. If you're not at peace with yourself, other people will not be at peace with you. Right? If you want to connect with other people, you need to connect with yourself. And for that, you need a level of time alone with yourself. It's called healthy solitude. Spend time with yourself. Spend time to know yourself. In Christian circle, we'll call it having a quiet time. You're having a quiet time with God, but you're also having a quiet time with yourself, right? You need that to grow. You need that to ascend to whatever height you want to go in life. It's your time you spend to dig deep, right? You dig deep. That depth is what will hold you when you face the world, when people disappoint you, when people fail you. At least know that you can't fail yourself. It's only to the extent to which you know yourself, right? There's also what we call healthy togetherness, right? You cannot spend all your life with other people in the crowd. You will die. For we, the introverts, we only have what we call body count. There are only so many people we can engage with before we lose all our energy. We need to run into a place of solitude to get energy. For the extroverts, they get their energy by engaging with other people. But they don't have a limit of that. There's a place to get to where they need to run back and get strength. What we need to understand is what is healthy solitude, a time we spend alone that we don't spend more than we need to. What is healthy togetherness, we don't spend more than we need to. We need to get that right balance of the two. Healthy solitude, spend time with ourselves. Healthy togetherness, spend time in community, right? We'll say the devil is in the adverb, right? It's too much of solitude is bad. Too much of togetherness is bad. All we're talking about here in engaging is healthy solitude, healthy togetherness. So to have the right complete life, to have the right relationship in our lives and the right quality of those relationships so that we can be fulfilled, right? We can live to the fullest extent of all God has created us to be. Amen. All right, that's where I'm going to stop. Anything you want to add?
I was just laughing just a few minutes. Now, it's like I had to say for we introverts. So I wanted to say, are you an introvert?
I sure am. I know people don't believe it, but I am an introvert. I grew up as one, and I've not changed that one. I don't look like one because I've practiced to become who I am, but at
Okay.
the core of who I am an introvert. Yeah. So if I don't remember that, I will miss my way. There's only so much of social engagement I can stand. I need to run. Right. I am an
Okay.
introvert. Look like it, I know, but this is because of practice. This is not nature. This is nurture. My nature is introversion. My nurture
Uh,
looks like a introvert, but I must never forget that.
oh, okay. Maybe over the years, maybe you built up to change from that nature of just being one-sided. I
My
guess.
nature has my nature has not changed though.
And when I
My
say change,
nature,
I don't really mean change. I mean modifying, because like what you are saying, and what I also believe is that one should not be lopsided, saying I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert, and then there is no balance.
yes,
So what
yes,
I'm trying to
yes,
say is that maybe like you have taken time to balance that area.
absolutely,
Because I've always
absolutely.
assumed that you're an extrovert anyway. That was I was laughing when I
Everybody
just
does.
started.
Everybody does. I was speaking to one
Okay.
of my bro in the office. I said that is not possible. She said that is not possible, but that's the truth. I am introvert. That's my nature. But
Oh,
we must not be slave. We must not be enslaved by our nature. We
yeah,
must we must
yeah,
trump our nature. You don't give excuses in life, right? You
yeah.
you take control of your weaknesses and use them. You don't let them use you. You don't let them limit you. But you must never
So,
forget them also. Because when you
yeah,
when you when you are least aware, least conscious, they can bite you.
true.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
yeah.
no
So
problem.
awesome, awesome. All right. Have a great week,
Yeah.
and we'll continue next week, God willing.
Yeah, sorry, I came in late, and I'm
No,
also
no,
rushing
no.
for a program of 3. I came in
I
around
can
after
see
2,
you.
so
I can hear
I'm
from the
already on the
background.
road. Yes,
I
I'm
can
already on
I
the
can
road,
hear
walking
that.
back. Yes,
Yeah.
okay, sir.
But I'm honored. I'm honored to have you. It makes a difference when I have someone to speak with. It kind of
Yeah,
gives me opportunity to speak more.
I always want to connect, but a number of times, sometimes I might not even be at home or in a good place to connect. But today
I
I just came
understand.
in after 2, and I said, I must connect before the 3 o'clock program.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me let you go. Have a good one. God bless you. See you next week.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Bye-bye. Yeah.